the whole Liam Kumar Day effect, not really happened.
Nigel couldn't make it.
Yeah.
I rang up Mendenhall, he said he could make
Don't dig this hole. Phil, credit to the guy, he always manages to do well what he has, but he is a shocking personality. You guys got a trophy? No.
It was pre-event.
No, my life from Rashad Mendenhall.
Right, you go. Cancel. I'm a tag, Jack. I'm a fucking tag.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the LOC Report. We are officially into December, rounding to the end of the season. As we know, this is the last month of the LOC regular season and playoffs as well, I believe. But Chris is here as well as we roll into December. How's it going, Chris?
We are rolling. Rolling. That's it. Rolling. It's
very much. Yeah.
It's going well. I'm looking forward to this week because there's still a lot to play for. Yeah. I mean, a lot.
Definitely.
And as we go through the pod today, you will certainly see that. But I mean, we've seen it for the last few years. How it gets to this point of the season, it's like it's squeaky. The right matchups come around just at the right time.
Yeah.
So the next 2 weeks should be
definitely
thrilling.
Absolutely, this is where we see the defining parts of the season, where you make those heroic plays that make the difference, or
we've all been there.
Crucial thing that goes wrong and that just costs you. Yeah, we're at that time of year. Well, most of us are anyway. Christmas has come early for your team because you're already in the playoffs, so you've just got a fun 2 weeks for the next couple of weeks.
Well, you say that, but it should be like that. But at the same time, when you're there, you've got to get the regular season win, and if it doesn't want to go away. So
yeah, true.
So we'll see. But it's definitely a little bit less to think about. You're kind of you're home and hosed.
Yeah. You're almost like an NFL coach to this, but it's like, right, we just got to get the last few weeks, no one get injured, just stay healthy.
Exactly that. That's it. We're a nice place, all's good. So. But yes, we shall see that as time goes on.
Absolutely. So yeah, let's roll straight into it with the league news. Of which there is a fairly large amount this week. It's been a few quiet weeks for the league news, but this one's making up for it, starting with key injuries and otherwise. Antonio Brown suspended for breaching COVID protocols.
I mean, not completely unexpected.
No, but I mean, well, it was interesting to begin with because obviously the thing came out about the chef obviously saying it, and then everyone kind of discredited him, and it was like, this guy's literally never, said anything or anything. And even the Bucks were standing pretty much behind Brown. Then it went quiet, and then this 3-game suspension basically comes out of nowhere, which leads you to suggest, he was probably right after all.
I mean, certainly seems like this is a very Antonio Brown thing.
Yeah, the most Antonio Brown thing to happen. So yeah, certainly. He is suspended for 3 weeks. Dalvin Cook injured his shoulder dislocation, I think, in last week's game, so he's out for at least a few weeks for your gold, but obviously not in the playoffs race anymore. So in terms of regular season impact for LSU, not much. DeAndre Swift, he also injured his shoulder on Thanksgiving for Ben Necessities. That is slightly more impactful because Ben Necessities are still in the playoff hunt. Darren Waller, he injured his knee. A very weird injury that I'd never heard of, a TV band or something. Don't know what that is.
Only hear about it in the NFL, don't you?
It looked like a torn ACL when he went down and the way he kind of walked off. So best possible news, but not for Ross. He will be out without him for at least 1 week. Christian McCaffrey as well, Palestine, obviously in the playoff hunt by means of highest scoring points. Takes another ding here. Christian McCaffrey injured his ankle and he's back on IR, meaning he will miss the rest of the regular season.
I mean, Christian McCaffrey over a 2-year span has been a just absolute bust. I'm going to put it there now.
All down to injury. I mean, when he's been on the field, he's been absolutely fine. But as you say, he's one of those guys that you can no longer sadly count on for his durability, which was kind of the knock on him coming out of college, to be fair, because he is, the smaller variety, the skinnier variety of a running back. He's not a big built running back, but he gets the bell cow treatment. So it does make sense that he does break down. It'll be interesting to see how the Panthers might use him in future seasons.
Yeah, I mean, you think to use him. I mean, you've seen guys this year, these sort of gadget type players.
Yeah,
he seems to me is the ideal candidate for that because so his dad was a very, very good NFL receiver back in the day. He looks like he's an excellent receiver too, but he's obviously his explosive speed and just general all-round play has been better out the backfield. I think perhaps he might have a longer career going forward as this kind of like slot receiver kind of thing
I
for
mean,
them, and they have this big beast of us.
You could look to New England perhaps. Look, he's too good to be just used in the James White role on its own, but he would be a rich man's James White, and James White was a damn good player for the Patriots in his heyday with Tom Brady as well, and so it's the ideal role. And like you say, when you use the running backs in that vein, where they're kind of running out shotgun or taking the passes or you're being used in the slot, they don't get as much punishment, but you get all the benefit of what you get out of them.
Yeah.
You can find some big 230-pound running back to just run it up the middle for 4 yards every, but you don't need McCaffrey doing that. That's not where he brings the value to your team.
No.
So, yeah, you're absolutely right. And the final one we have here was Deebo Samuel. He injured his groin for Thomas Tyrants. Again, Thomas Tyrants out of the playoff race. But even they might be out of the playoff race. Obviously, Thomas Tyrants and Joel Gold still do potentially have games that matter for the playoffs.
For sure.
Waiver move wise, again, we haven't really had any key waiver moves the last couple of weeks. But when a running back such as Dalvin Cook himself goes down, unlike McCaffrey, where Pat was still holding on to Chuba Hubbard, no one had Alexander Mattison. So Ben Sassdy's bid what I think might be a record.
I think this is a league record ever,
and it makes the most sense because I mean I didn't have a lot of cash remaining, but I was just going to empty the tank. I don't even think my dad did empty the tank quite, but he had a lot of money to play with. $89 there for Alexander Mattison, but it makes complete sense because he's effectively an RB1 anytime.
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook is out. So.
Bear in mind that he's still, and this is the thing we forget about Ben Sassdy, is they've been in that sort of midfield hunt for a while.
Yeah.
It's something like that can get them across the line. On top of it, those other guys that are in there. So yeah, I mean, a lot of cash, but at this time of the season, there's absolutely no point taking it with you.
Yeah, exactly. It's not useful to you if you're out of it after week 14. So you may as well.
Yeah.
And obviously I'll set the scene for the playoffs after we do the week 12 recap, so we really set the stage for week 13 and 14 as well, of course. The other major move here, slightly major, Taysom Hill, he finds his way onto a fantasy team again, my team for $12.
So I'm not going to. He finds his way onto your bench for $12.
True. Yeah. I mean, he'll probably be playing next week. Mallet finger pending because he did do the same thing that Russell Wilson did.
Yeah.
Nearly threw him in. You know what made me, and we'll get to it when we do the preview. But it was without both the starting tackles, Alvin Kamara, and obviously the Saints had a litany of other injuries. Had he not had. I didn't mind playing him without Kamara. It was the two tackles that worried me, even him being a mobile quarterback. I would have definitely chucked him in. It was just they were so injury hit on that Thursday game.
Yeah. So, and Thursday's weird as well.
Exactly. And watching that game, we'll see his point total when we get to I would not have said. Well, it was that long touchdown to Deontay Harris that saved it. But bizarrely, it was the 5 turnovers that literally all came in the fourth quarter.
It was wild.
Absolutely completely capped his day. It would have been a really good day if it wasn't for that. So,
exactly that.
But yeah,
you've still got Derek Carr. Derek Carr has been a podcast favourite all year.
He has, yeah.
So
that's why he comes through.
I trust in Derek. It's nice and solid.
So that is all of the league news. So we will dive straight into the recaps. Of course, I've noted down this time where we started, so we know the marquee matchup, and of course what games we picked and locked as well. So we'll start right there then with the marquee matchup of week 12. It was Iksan against Pakistan. Oh, and I've just realised my microphone is down here, so that might be helpful to bring up here because that might make for some funny audio.
It's
omnidirectional, so it would have been.
You'd have heard it. It goes around the room.
Yeah, exactly. Iksan took on Pakistan in week 12. Both of these teams are live in the playoffs by different means. Iksan was in the driving seat for the wildcard spot. Meanwhile, Pakistan looking to retain his highest points forward. Well, one team definitely got what they want, the other did not. Iksan gets the all-important win, which takes them to 7 and keeps them in the driving seat for that wildcard. 110-50, and that 50 is going to hurt Pakistan's chances for the playoffs, going for those highest points. Looking down the lineup, Josh Allen turned up on Thanksgiving with a 35-point day for Iksan. Miles Gaskin had another good day for 17 points. Brandon Cooks 11 points. Tyler Lockett 10, Damian Harris 11, Justin Tucker 13, and the Texans D 10. So a solid team effort en route to that 110. On the other side of the ball for Pakistan, a day to forget, and this might be, unfortunately, what costs him a spot in the playoffs. Tom Brady faltered again 13 points here. Christian McCaffrey injured his ankle en route to only 3.5 points. DJ Moore got 10 points, but nobody else over 10 points there. Another putrid day at the worst possible for time for Pakistan. History of this matchup all time. Iksan are now 4-5 all time against Palestine.
Yep, this is one that Ben was very pleased with, and one he wasn't very pleased that we didn't go with. But look, 50 points this time of the season with those players, oh my word.
I logged Pat's team up last week, so this is a real surprise. I mean, credit to Ben for winning it because his team did a great job. But I just did not see the 50 points coming from Pat.
No, absolutely not. I said, bearing in mind that, he did have some excellent matchups.
Yeah.
Excellent players.
It just did not come through.
But did not come through at all.
Yeah.
I say you're right. He can't afford a 50-point loss at this point in the season because there are so many teams around him that are rushing through with big scores. It's just a really bad day at the office. There was no positives at all. You can't look at that stat line. That's it. Yep. Just nothing to see. On the other side, Ben, he's been there or thereabouts all year. He's sneakily there at 7-5 now. Josh Allen.
So sneakily, he's got the wildcard spot at the moment.
Indeed, that's it. But we haven't talked a lot about his team this year, and I think because for large parts there was the skill positions weren't great. His trade that he made with you has definitely propelled him into that on a little bit more, and certainly into that playoff race because it gives him another very reliable receiving option there. He doesn't have to play all these randos.
Sure. He's one of these classic teams where they're kind of a solid team, and as you say, they don't get the highlight reel or anything because they're not pumping up these high points week in, week out. But at the same time, they're not dropping these silly games when your opponent...
That's right.
And they just kind of tick along until you get to week 12, 13. It's like, hang on a minute, this team's in a wildcard spot.
Yep, that's right, because they've got playmakers in there, they can do it. And, it's not always the same people, which I think is what you want to see. So, this week, obviously, Gaskin and...
I have a really funny stat about Myles Gaskin. So, if you played Myles Gaskin and J.D. McKissick on alternate weeks, you would have had an RB1 in fantasy. By that I mean on the, I think it's the odd weeks for Gaskin, and no joke, you look down here, 8, 7, 22, 14, 10, 17, week 12 kind of broke it, but on all the odd weeks he turned up, and on all the even weeks J.D. McKissick turned up. So if you rotated them all season long, you'd have an RB1.
How bizarre.
Yep.
Well, I mean, and again, a pickup. It's another way to pick up.
Claim from Tom's Tyrants and it originally. So
exactly that. So I mean, fair play to Ben. He has rebuilt an element of his team or a couple of elements of his team in the second half of the season, and it is paying off for him. Keep him one game ahead. His D stream seems to be on point. There's not a lot you can really complain about at this point, but Pat, I'm afraid, from real early season promise is late season despair for him.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I lose my lock in the first use of it in the marquee matchup, but surprising turn there for Pat. But and we both picked Pat's team as well, not just locking. We both picked him for this game. So, but a good win for Ben propels him on. Yeah, that could be curtains for Pakistan. On to our next game then. It was Tom's Tyrants against Neapolitans. Two teams entering this week with 4 wins. Definitely needed a... Tom's Tyrants had 4 wins. Neapolitans had 5 wins. Both teams definitely needed a win to stay alive in the playoff race. Obviously, Neapolitans has been white hot since their slow start, and Tom's Tyrants has been sputtering. But Tom's Tyrants, albeit still sputtering slightly, they do get the win here with the floor falling through for Neapolitans again at the worst possible time, 74-57. Tom's Tyrants moves to 4-8. Meanwhile, Neapolitans moves to 5-7. Looking down the lineups, Jimmy Garoppolo gets another start and 13 points for Tom's Tyrants. Antonio Gibson, he's over his shin issues now, so he got 17 points. Deebo Samuel, another big day despite pulling up late with that groin injury. He got 20 points, and that was enough for Tom's Tyrants to win this one. On the other side of the ball for Neapolitans, Lamar Jackson did not turn up. He only got 11 points for the turnover-ridden game, 4 picks all in all. Jonathan Taylor, he was still posted a solid score, but obviously compared to what he's been recently, far lower, only 16 points in this one. Patriots D got 15 points, so another day to forget for Neapolitans, and you wonder how big this might loom in their late push for the playoffs. The history of this game, this is the first time they played, so Tom takes the first game between them. And in terms of where we picked this one, we both went Neapolitans. So.
We did, and based on recent form, I mean, you would do. In fact, the Tom Tyrants have scored 73 points and won this game tells you quite how bad the other team were, because it's another one of these low-scoring, horrible games where, from Tom's point of view, Gibson and Samuel have kind of like got him through the week, whilst on the other side, again, anemic. Jonathan Taylor has been maybe a bit of a bandage on this team recently. I know that we've seen.
Well, he's definitely been the high point. He's the leading man. Been the leading man of the team. They have had some good days, obviously, from Jackson or Burrow. Smith's had his days. Kittle's popped up here and there. I don't know if they were.
The Patriots D has had
exactly. Yeah. So and it's just one of those weeks where Taylor's obviously still leading the charge to a lesser degree, and everyone else followed suit.
Yes,
basically.
Indeed. That's it. And but again, 57 points this week. Just at the wrong time, so Mike and you must be bringing a sigh of relief in that division because see this guy charging up there. Dave Hendo's been absolutely brilliant for the last few weeks. But just falters at the last, and with now 2 games left, it only takes one win from either of you guys to make it a very, very difficult mission for him. Tom, again, we talk about teams that torment you, but 73 points is not a great total, and shouldn't be winning weeks. Yet is, and he's playing the right team in the right week. So again, not a lot to really analyse on that one, except the fact that perhaps Jonathan Taylor and the Patriots D not scoring 50 points and 35 points a week, causes weeks like that.
Definitely, maybe chalk up to a bad week. I think they're still better than this on the whole, but they have certainly been. Perhaps punching above, considering how poorly they started. They had some positive regression. Somewhere in the middle was probably.
I'm not going to take away from a guy scoring 100 points and more in 3 weeks. 3 weeks straight. There's obviously something good there, but just not there. Of the ultimate boom and bust. And sometimes you just need that.
Indeed. Next game then, it was Forge Flyers against Bucking the Trend, the Waypoint Bowl. In Week 12's Waypoint Bowl, regular season leading Forge Flyers at 10-1 took on the Portsmouth division leading Bucking the Trend just by points. Chris obviously on a 10-game win streak, hoping to make that 11, and make that he did. 11-1 now, and wow, this might be the highest points of the season in a week so far, quite possibly. 143 to 77 points. Bucking the Trend now 3 on the trot. They've lost, falling to 6-6. Looking down the lineup, just a great day all around for Forge Flyers, really. Aaron Rodgers, even with Tovid, got 30 points. Calderell Patterson, 25. Joe Mixon, 28. Cooper Kupp, 12. Darnell Mooney, what a stream again, 12 points. Daniel Carson, though, the highlight of Thanksgiving, with 21 points from your kicker, en route to that high 143 watermark. On the other side of the ball for Bucking the Trend, didn't all quite fire last week. Tua Tagovailoa got 15 points, but he was facing a tough Carolina D. Cedric Wilson, that was a nice plug and play on Thanksgiving, he got 10. Jalen Waddle got 20 as well, he's been good with Tua there, and the Browns D got 12, but just not enough. Obviously to contend anywhere closely to Forge Flyers there. So the history of this matchup all time, Forge Flyers are now 3-1 all time against Bucking the Trend, and we both picked your team in this one, Chris. That's
one we did get right. Yes. It was a very good week, not gonna lie. There was some crazy scores there. Say big 20-something scores. But when you got 21 points from the kicker, you're having a good week. There was only 4 points left on the bench, which I'm really quite pleased about. Yes, there were some good matchups in there, don't get me wrong, but it does seem to be coming good at just the right time. From Mike's side, again, it's when you're hanging your hat on Tua and Ryan Tannehill to try and get you over the line, what you're kind of going to expect at this point of the year. I actually think that playing Tua was the right move. I think playing Tua throughout the rest of the year is the right move.
Certainly compared to Tannehill with the current state.
Exactly that. That's right. Yeah. So you can't knock that. The fact that he's kept faith with Waddle throughout most of the year, seems to like that. But as with all his receivers, we've seen them consistently throughout the year, boom and bust. Pittman, we've seen him have big games, but then go away like that. Metcalf isn't helped by the fact that Russell Wilson's come back. Yeah. Because Lockett seems to be a much bigger factor, as he's always been when Wilson's in the team. So I think that Mike's team is what it is this year. It is going to be one of those 80 to 90 point get over the line and just hope that he outscores the other team by 5 or 10. We're not seeing 100 point weeks consistently here with this team, and that's why they are where they are. Yes, they're still top in the division where they're at 6-6.
Yeah, and I mean the way they got there, because they obviously had a really bad start, then they had a really good middle where everything was firing, and they were one of those 100-point week in week out teams. But as you say, that kind of like with Neapolitans, they've kind of it's averaged out now, and it's kind of where they are. Actually,
it's a big problem not having your first round pick. I get that. When you've been out when Kamara's been out for a while, he's going to have to hope that one of them's going to fire. Him or
not only Kamara this week, but also Ingram missed this game as well, and then he obviously had Tony Jones, but wisely did not.
Indeed, didn't do that. So that's what happens when you're effectively playing without that. Yeah, as am I. But once if you've got other players around them that perhaps warrant that too, then you maybe not in such a bad place. So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, you look to your team; it's obviously the team to beat at the moment. There's a reason it's at the top. You've got a wide receiver one in the 5th round in Cooper Kupp. Joe Mixon was the 2nd round pick. Obviously, he's effectively running back one value Cordero from the waiver. He's been just beyond anyone's what could have possibly even you imagine when you picked him up.
I picked him up for $5.
Yeah, exactly. Rodgers, you took him in I think the 5th round as well, and he's obviously delivering that return. And then you have a good couple of streams in here with your kicker and your Darnell Mooney, and it's just
Darnell Mooney. That's the thing throughout the years that. I love finding things like that. That's awesome. Just like
you gotta love the plug and play.
You love the plug and play. Exactly that. Yeah.
Our next game then it was Gridiron Gang against the Dream Team. With a win in week 12, the Dream Team can sign their ticket to the playoffs for good. Meanwhile, Gridiron Gang, with the bucking the trend, lost. The opportunity opened for them to seize control of this division, and it just slipped through their fingers as they lost this one, 98-87. The Dream Team moves to double digits, 3 wins on the trot now. They're at 10-2, and they are going to the playoffs. Meanwhile, Gridiron Gang will be rowing a missed opportunity to really take a step forward in taking the Portsmouth division. As they fall to 6-6. Looking down the lineups for the Dream Team, Justin Herbert on a day where it was completely shut down by Denver, still got 24 points. Austin Eckler got 16 points. James Robinson 10. Javonte Williams 17. And the Ravens D 15 points there as well. En route to that good team at 98 points. On the other side of the ball, Tyler Heineke, the quarterback woes continue for Gridiron Gang, only 13 points there. Ezekiel Elliott got 11 points. Josh Jacobs 17. And Elijah Mitchell 23. Outside of that, nobody over 10 points there. So the history of this matchup all time now I believe is 8-5 in favour of 9-5 in favour of the Dream Team, excuse me. And we both went with the Dream Team in this one, so we got this one right in terms.
This one right as well. Yeah. Excellent stuff. Well, that's good that we got that one right. Yeah, I mean, Viv's team is just chugging along nicely. Again, even when it's on paper not such a clever week, they do seem to find a way of getting the points down. Mm-hmm. I love the fact that he's trusting Javonte Williams. That's a really good pickup this year as well. Consistently decent. Herbert and Eckler are exactly what he wanted this year. I think that seems to be working well. The one thing that I'm a little bit concerned about, and which is what takes him from being that sort of higher echelon team that he was at the midpoint of the season, where you saw him score crazy points, is that Jamar Chase and Terry McLaurin have kind of slowed down. I think that defenses now really are targeting Chase.
You see with the rookies as well, they typically do hit the wall at the latter part of the season because the NFL season is longer than the college season. Particularly with Chase, he's not played football, in 2 years really either, because he opted out of the last college football season. But like you say, when teams get tape on you, they erase you away. And for McLaurin, obviously, he is the top option in that Washington offense. Every team, when it comes to pass defending, is gonna, how do we take this guy away from the other, away from the offense? So, he can overcome that sometimes, like you say, but not every time.
Not every time. No, exactly, absolutely right. But at the same time, from your point of view, it's disappointing because I think your running back room is arguably the best in the league now.
Certainly up there.
It's certainly up there. It's certainly top 2. Elliott, Jacobs, and Mitchell every week. It's a threat. But unfortunately, when you're having to play Judy and Claypool, one of them doesn't work out, and obviously with your QB right woes, as you say.
And again, you know, I don't lament this one too much because even though I had Carr on the bench at 23, it still doesn't get me the win in this one.
No, it doesn't.
It's close. What really did cost me, like, I obviously rolled the dice for the Jags D here.
Yep.
There wasn't a lot of great options this week, but on the bye weeks for the Ds, I took a chance. It didn't pay off. That's how it goes.
Yep.
But interestingly for Viv's side, so when we were reviewing this game, the Ravens D actually came up pretty good in the end anyway. He had the Dolphins D in, who I think ended up getting 30 points or something against Carolina in the end. Bad move dropping him out, but also when we removed this game, he had Jalen Hurts in as the starting quarterback.
That's right,
and had he stuck with that, this game goes my way instead. So he did make that move, and that, you know, take away with one hand, give with the other. That's exactly what the dream team's done here.
Absolutely, it's saying when you've got that QB tandem, it's good that you can do that. Though, why wouldn't you play Justin Herbert every week, by the way? Because the guy is.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. And you know, on paper against the Giants, you would have thought, God, the Eagles should stomp all over. But you know, those NFC East divisional games can be a bit weird sometimes. So Herbert was probably the safer option. And just going back to my team, you say the running backs is absolutely fine. You're right. What did cost me this? Claypool, who I was basically playing out of desperation anyway, had a nice day, and Judy really did cost me as well. I had Kendrick Bourne on my team at one point and nearly threw him in, but I was like, no, I'll lock up a D for next week instead, which I've obviously then traded up for the Dolphins anyway. I don't know whether if I had Bourne, if I would have thrown him in, that would have been a bit of a dice roll in itself. But just like with the Darnell Mooney stream, it would have made the difference in this one. Yeah. But obviously that's kind of come out of injury-wise with the receiver. I'm down AJ Brown. Obviously Hopkins was on a bye. Antonio Brown was still injured with the heel this time before he was suspended as well. So like you said, I've done a good job with the running back room. The receivers are almost on their last legs.
But it was, I mean, the trade that you made with Ben was well worth it. For both parties.
Exactly. It worked for both sides.
Really does.
Yeah, Tyler Lockett doesn't change that, and actually makes my team worse off in that particular week. So, indeed. Our next game then, it was the Bear Bowl. You are gold against Ben Necessities. Ben Necessities still with a chance of playoffs. He needed to get a win, sitting at 5-6 in this one. Meanwhile, you are gold, sitting at 3-8, playing for spoilers at this point, and they gave it a good effort, but couldn't quite upset Ben Necessities, who take the Bear Bowl, 96 to 81 points. 2 games won in a row now for Ben Necessities, and they're at 6-6 and squarely in the playoff race still. Looking down the lineups, Russell Wilson, while he's not been brilliant since he came back, some end-of-game theatrics got him to 23 points. Leonard Fournette, though, was the story of Ben Necessities in this one. 37 points. Forget about playoff Lenny. What about regular season Lenny? Turning up big time here for the Bucs and Ben Necessities and getting this win. Stephon Diggs got 13 points. And really, that does paper over the cracks because, DeAndre Swift going down in this one, as did Melvin Gordon. He came back in, but he did pick up a hip injury early on. But they got 96 of the same, got the win for your gold. Again, it's going to be a disappointing day, one in which where they went a different way at quarterback. They would have won this one. Cam Newton did only get 6 points, and you've got Mac Jones there on the bench with 26. It would be harsh to criticise him for making that decision, but on paper it did cost him this game. Adam Thielen got 18 points, Dalvin Cook going down obviously didn't help either, he only got 8 in the day. Renfro, 14 points, Nick Folk, who is basically a quarterback playing kicker at this point in terms of fantasy, 21 points, but still not enough. So the history of this matchup all time, Bare Necessities are now 3-5 all time against UL Gold, and we both went with... where did we go? We went with your gold, so shows what we know.
Exactly that. We know nothing. But again, that's it.
It was lined up. To be fair, we couldn't have predicted
Leonard Fournette going off like that. I mean, it's absolutely no way. It hasn't showed me anything all season apart from that. And yes, that's it. You're right. It papers over a lot of cracks for Ben Necessities because actually, skill position wise, there is pretty garbage. It's it. You consider that three skill positions there, and that is Swift, Evans, and Melvin Gordon, all combined for less than 11. And it tells you the story of that week. So you can't take away from a player going off. These things happen. It's absolutely brilliant. And also, from our point of view as well, you also can't see UR Gold as quarterback scoring 6 points only.
No, I mean with how Newton did and sparingly used in the Cardinals game and how he actually performed in his first full game with the Panthers. Little did we know, Miami, again, it's this weird point. You hit one point in the NFL season, it's almost like everything resets and it's all anew again. The Miami defense has been on an absolute tear since that. It was before the Thursday night game, it was the game before that, actually. But they've been absolutely incredible. Somehow flip the switch and become this dominant defense.
Yeah, again.
Yeah.
Because they were pretty good last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't lose that, but I don't know what happened there. But at the same time, again you've got some guys in there, some playmakers. Thielen's still making some plays. Renfro's been a decent pickup since.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's like 23.
Yeah,
scoring wise.
Since Ruggs' unfortunate incident. And you say Nick Folk again been superb at kicking. As a fancy kicker, been great.
Yeah.
But he's done it without a QB, without Mike Williams scoring any sort of decent points, with Cook going down. So yeah, you're right. So again, another team which hasn't really been able to nail a quarterback all year.
Yeah.
Losing out, and the amount of times that we see a lot of points left on the bench for you, our goal. It's the story of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Final game of week 12 then, it was Bedetonators against Ross's team. Bedetonators sitting at 3-8 entering this one, probably out of it, but looking to play spoilers for Ross's team, who are 6-5 squarely in the playoff race. But they may have taken themselves out of it with this one as they fall to Bedetonators 94-51, and Bedetonators gets a nice win, and maybe it has a good end to their season, 94-51 there. So looking down the lineups, Matthew Stafford, he got 28 points, which was not far too dissimilar from Dak Prescott, so decent decision there. AJ Dillon got 15 points, wise move sticking with him over Aaron Jones, who was back in this game. Deontay Johnson got 10 points, Michael Gallup 11, Evan McPherson 13, en route to that 94, so a good day for the Bedetonators there. On the other side for Ross's team, obviously without Patrick Mahomes on a bye, Matt Ryan was not the answer. He only got 12 points. Devontae Adams, who this team really hangs their hat on, he only got 10 points. Nobody else other than the Bills D with 18 points, over 10 points there. Randy Bullock, kicker, got 0, and that was due to a PAT miss. As well as making PAT, that classic. Darren Waller obviously got injured in the game as well, only 3.3, and Dallas got also put up a donut. So real costly time to have this performance for Ross's team in the history of this matchup all time. But Bedetonators are now 5-7 against Ross's team, and you locked up Bedetonators. So good job of you, and we obviously both picked him.
Indeed, that's it. We did say that 3 tight ends probably wouldn't work, and 3 tight ends did not work.
They did not.
Yeah, look, you're right. At this point of the season, Ross is in the hunt, but what annoys me is that there's nothing there. There's no juice. That's it. We saw this earlier on in the season where he was a sneaky team with his sneaky tight ends, but sneaky is no more.
No.
And yeah, you're right. That's it. Lots of troubling decisions to make there. Matt Ryan again has been pretty terrible for most of the year. You think that
he left Darrell Henderson on the bench there over Devin Singletary, and as you say, 3 tight ends.
Indeed.
And Ross is usually a laissez-faire style, so.
I mean, I know it makes no difference in this game, but at least try. Especially at least try this week, because you got half a chance of being able to make the playoffs. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
And we know what happens when you make the playoffs. Strange things happen. So keep trying. Please keep trying, because 51 points is not ideal, and the only way you're going to make the playoffs, unfortunately, is on record at this point, because I think that the points 4 is slightly now away from Ross's team because of that result. Again, another good result for Ollie, though. He's hung his hat on Stafford finally, and he's sticking with it for the rest of the season by the looks of it. If we a bit of a spoiler for this week, perhaps. But yeah, that's it, guys.
It'll probably be the right decision this week.
Absolutely,
well.
But the guys he's picked up off the waivers have helped, and I think that's the thing that he's really tried to rebuild this.
Gallup
team
was a great pickup. Yeah. He kind of did that prospectively even before Cooper and CD were losing time. And great decision, when he was coming back from his injury.
Dillon was there.
That was a great decision, sticking with him over Aaron Jones. As I said, did come back in this game, but only got 2 points.
It would have been very easy to do that, but I think if you actually watch the games, Dillon's been the guy in the backfield, and Jones has been catching stuff anyway.
Yep.
So it's good that it's good that and it proves that you watch the games.
Yep.
And that's the thing, and that's again, and I will stress this enough.
Yep.
That's it. Cannot stress it enough to you. If you watch the games, you will do better in fantasy, because it is all about the eye test.
You're right.
You can trust as many people's word as you like about it, but just trust your own eyes, because sometimes when people are bad, and then these analysts go, "Oh, you should play them."
Yeah.
Because they're going to do this, and this. You can just instantly go, "No." You see, no, that's not going to work.
When we get to the preview for my team, there's a perfect example of that. I'll save that for when we get there. But yeah, you're absolutely right. We've spoken a few times now about how analysts don't have any accountability, really. I don't know how much tape they are or aren't looking at. It feels like, as you say, does it pass the eye test or the smell test? To me, it feels like they're not looking at it that way. And I know it's the problem. I think with the analysts, they want to reduce it to this numbers-based thing. They look at production, but like you say, it's and don't get me wrong, it's obviously difficult to watch 14 NFL games properly week in, week out. Obviously, you can have the coach's view where it shows it to you all in 10 minutes or whatever. But really, I think, as you say, you do learn a lot more by just watching the games yourself.
I watched unbelievable amount watching Red Zone, because the amount of times that on Red Zone, particularly, if you've got a player in the kind of like one of the top 2 games of the day where they focus on it a lot.
Yeah.
There's mad times that they have plays which don't really mean anything.
Yeah.
But you can see what they're doing and who they're targeting.
That's the thing, yeah. When you watch the actual game itself, you see what's happening on a play-by-play. Because, as a receiver, they might not get the pass to them everybody, but you can see if they're open or what they're doing and, how the team's trying to use
exactly
them.
that. That's it.
So,
and then you think, right, well, next week, he's going to be a bigger part of the game plan, or if someone goes down in the game, you go, right, he's the guy. That's what gives you a little bit more of the inside track. We are both on the same page with this and have been for a while. That that's it. You can't just read like these start sit-ems every week. And expect to do well. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, definitely not. We're on the milestones, standings, and stats. So we'll start off with the milestones and stats part of it. We do have 2 coaches in the 100 club for 100 career wins now. It's yourself and my dad's team.
Come on, mate, could have lost.
Congrats. Yeah. So you enter it together poetically.
That's good. That's like that. I like that. So.
Coach Burdett got his 90th regular season win, and while 2 coaches entered the 100 career win, I have also entered the 100 regular season loss club. First of that as well.
Me and Dave have exactly the same. We have both won 100 regular season games and lost 86.
Wow. The only difference is the playoff record, where you have 4 wins and 2 losses, and he is 3-3. So,
well, I mean, there's still time to rectify that one day.
Very much so. And then, looking at the standings, then, so if we go to the Southampton division first, so the Dream Team has locked up their ticket to the playoffs at 10-2. Now they have confirmed won the Southampton division. Benecesti's there at 6-6. They're currently just outside looking in on the wildcard spot, as are Ross's team, also at 6-6. Pakistan there at the bottom with a 4-8 record. But I believe, no, they have lost the highest points forward to Neapolitans, who, if we pivot to the Portsmouth division, back in the trend, 6-6 at the top, holding on to it by 3 points over Grenine Gang, also at 6-6. Neapolitans there at 5-7, I believe, are the current holders of the...
By 1 point over Pat.
By 1 point over Pat. So we do have a great finish coming up here for the 5th wildcard spot with most points forward.
Wow.
But then it is at 4-8 at the bottom there, and they are out of the playoff race at this point with those points. Into the Winchester division, regular season leader Forge Flies at 11-1. Obviously still looking to keep hold of that, as Viv is putting some pressure on you, but definitely going to take the Winchester division because Ixan is 7-5. But they are in the current driver's seat for the wildcard. The only they've got the 3rd best record in the league, actually, after yours and Viv's team. And then we have Tom's Tyrants there at 4-8, 1,065. Not necessarily eliminated, but probably too far out of it at this point. And then you are Gold at 3-9. Who are out of it. So, looking at playoff race, we'll stick on that before we look over the other stats. So, the Dream Team and Forge Flyers confirmed in, currently bucking the trend, winning the Portsmouth division. But obviously they've got a lot of heat on them, not only from Gridiron Gang. Neapolitans could possibly still win this division as well. Gridiron Gang in the hunt. Neapolitans currently the 5th seeded team with the most points forward. And then Ixan is obviously the current wildcard team with that 7-5 record and 1,137 points. The good thing for them is, even if they weren't necessarily to, get the wins and hold on to the wildcard, they're still well positioned for that points forward as well. And obviously with how they've been lately, you would say that they're going to sew up a playoff spot by one means or another. Benecesti's Ross's team also in the hunt as well at 6-6, and so that's pretty much it for the playoff race at the moment. This week we'll have some definite defining weeks, and then we'll have a very interesting race in week 14 there. Going to the breakdown, Forge Fire is still top of this. They've reached the 100 wins metric on this, having 11-0 week, 132 record throughout the whole season. Not far behind the Dream Team there at 94-38. Pakistan as well, despite having a 4-8 record, and they had an 0-11 week last week, still 76-56, third in this metric. Ixan moving up though, they're at 74-58 with a 10-1 week. And then you have the middle ground of kind of, the teams that are in the playoff race. Other than bucking the trend, who are down in 10th at the moment at 52 and 80. Looking at the coach ranking, Pakistan, they're still on top, which again is quite an achievement considering, they're in the hunt for that most points forward. Forge-wise as well, obviously you're leading the regular season and the Winchester division for good reason. You're making good coaching decisions there. Ross's team in third, but perhaps due to a lack of depth, probably a similar case for my team and Mike's team. We've both been dealing with injuries and other things as well. Going to the bottom there, we do have Iksan, who, even though they're holding onto the wild card, you can see that they clearly could have maximised their points a bit more. Same for Neapolitans, who have obviously been charging up to contend for that fifth playoff spot and do currently hold it. So we won't look at the true rankings because they don't really show anything. Power rankings, though, Tom did message just before we came on that these should be out before the end of the day, before the games start. So we will go to the Week 13 previews then, and the games we have on the slate today are Gridiron Gang against Tom's Tyrants. That's a Family Bowl matchup, of course, a rematch of Corona Bowl 3. Iksan against Bare Necessities. That's obviously got playoff implications, that one. You are Gold against the Dream Team. Neapolitans against Ross's team. Again, another Flyers, which is the rematch of Corona Bowl 9?
Yes,
8? Whatever one it was. A Corona Bowl rematch.
Have I played Ollie in the Corona Bowl?
Was it not Ollie? No. Maybe it wasn't Ollie.
No, I haven't. I've only played...
No. You guys must have had some...
I've had a playoff game last year.
Playoff game, there you go. And a Founding Bowl.
And a Founding Bowl. That'll do. That's it. It won't be that one, though. I can tell you that one. That means nothing.
No, yeah. We can write off your God against the Dream Team for marquee matchup this week, too.
That's it, indeed. So then it's between...
I would say maybe Iksan against Bare Necessities, because I think Iksan gets a win here. They get to 8 wins.
Yes.
They'll have a win over any other wildcard hopeful, assuming the other 6 win teams get a win there. So a lot on the line for Iksan. Meanwhile, Bare Necessities actually with a win. Obviously, they peg Iksan back, and it completely opens up the wildcard spot for week 14.
Yeah, I think that's right. And besides, Ben wants to say nice things about his team.
Yeah,
he consistently is whinging about that.
Yeah,
so let's
do that in a marquee matchup. So here we go. Iksan against Bare Necessities, week 13. It's week 13, penultimate week of the LOC regular season, and we have the wildcard team pitted against the wildcard hopeful. Iksan against Bare Necessities, looking to race towards the playoffs at the end of the year. 7-5, Iksan holding on to it with a 2-game win streak. Meanwhile, Bare Necessities have a 2-game win streak of their own at 6-6. Projections do have this one going Bare Necessities' way. A win would almost certainly lock it up for Iksan, but a win for Bare Necessities blows the wildcard race wide open. Looking down the lineups, Kirk Cousins is in for Bare Necessities over Russell Wilson. Elsewhere, Travis Kelce comes back from bye to the starting lineup, and Alexander Mattison from the waiver, the highest paid man in the LOC, you could say. So that's Melvin Gordon hitting the bench. He is out with that hip injury, and DeAndre Swift also out hitting the bench as well with that shoulder injury. So Bare Necessities rolling with the 11 personnel, 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 receivers. On the other side of the ball for Iksan, James Conner comes back into the lineup from bye. I think T. Higgins comes into the lineup as well, meaning they've dropped Brandon Cooks and Nick Chubb to the bench. Nick Chubb is on bye, so Iksan are going with the 30 personnel this week. 3 running backs and 2 wide receivers. The history of this matchup all time, Iksan are 11-4 against Bare Necessities.
Oh, that is quite a historical result, I have to say. Look, we did write Ben's team off last week in quite a fashion, and I'm going to do the same thing again this week. No, I'm not. Look, Josh Allen, whenever he's playing, so you can't write him off, but he's playing that New England defense that's been so good recently, and we have seen him have bad games.
The weather is meant to be really cold in this one as well, and I know these two teams used to playing in frigid conditions, but when the weather is that cold, it does have an effect.
Exactly
on
that. Absolutely right. That's it, and that's why you see low-scoring, turgid affairs, lots of running. which is going to be good for Damon Harris at the bottom. Don't get me wrong. I said we've seen games like that in Buffalo where they've run the ball a lot, and I think that he's going to see a lot of ball in hand. But look, do I like Lockett in this one? Yeah. Do I like Higgins in this one? Yeah. That's the only way I can really describe what I like. It's like I don't want to like those guys against those defenses, but I'm just gonna have to go with it because we've seen Lockett kind of be a little bit better in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, that's it. Russell Wilson, they're playing at home. He can't be this out of form forever. He's gonna explode at some point. I think that there's something in these games, these San Francisco, Seattle games, where you see massive scores. They just seem to go off against each other. So I do like that in some ways. Gaskin against the Giants, that's it. We saw him go big last week. Why wouldn't he go big again? They're going to rely on him. And Connor's a touchdown machine. And the Cardinals did at the bottom there, Nath, as well. That's it.
Playing against Chicago. Andy Dalton will be there as well, starting this week.
So that could be fun. So on paper, there's a lot of it's sort of iffy, but could be really good matchups. What's on the other side for Dave's team? Detroit, Atlanta, Jacksonville.
I will put an asterisk against Kirk Cousins there, because this is what I've been saying to you from my own experience. You play him in the games where it makes sense to, and he doesn't do anything. You play him in the games. You bench him in the games where he's going to have a tough time and he puts up 30 points.
Yeah, that's it. He covered himself a little bit with Madison being there as well, I suppose, in the sense that if it's not going to be through the air, it's going to be on the ground and it's going to be through him. Yes, Stephon Diggs is on the other side and Josh Allen's there too. That helps him. Travis Kelce is Travis Kelce, all right? Travis Kelce's just going to...
This Denver defense has been pretty frisky.
They have.
And Mahomes hasn't been quite firing either.
But
so.
If you're going to hit someone in the red zone, it's going to be that dude. That's it. And they've got a lot of other weapons. And the Rams at the bottom playing Jacksonville should be hilarious. Look, I think this one could be really tight.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
And it's certainly one of the reasons, obviously, that it's been picked this week. I don't want to write Ben's team up because he's got a lot of also-rans that seem to be doing quite well for him recently.
You objectively look at Ben's team on paper, and I'm not ragging on it because it is a good team, but they have 3 effectively at this point committee running backs.
Yep.
Good running backs, and obviously the lion's share leader of that committee, but 3 committee running backs, and you have 2 receivers who are the number 2 options on their team.
Yeah.
That's
Indeed.
just facts. You can't get away from that. Now, that being said, they're among the best committee running backs and number 2 options that you would have in fantasy. But when you look to the other side, certainly with some of the matchups Ben Necessities has, you've got the leaders in those teams: Evans, Kelce, Diggs. You've got RB1s, unquestionably Madison and Fournette.
Yeah, and Fournette's rolling obviously as of last week. There's no reason why
Ronald Jones is an
in.
afterthought in
Absolutely.
that Bucs offense.
And you wouldn't see they may even go Russell Wilson again this week as well. Take Cousins out of the equation.
Could do.
To maybe just roll it a little bit. It is close, though I must admit the first reaction I had when I looked at those 2 teams is that I like Ben Necessities more than Ixan. I think that's what I'm going to go with.
That's my gut too, so we both go for Ben Necessities.
And as all happens, that's it. Ben will win, and then he'll go, I told you so. Well, good, that's it. This is what we like. We like underdog stories.
You said it so. Like for all we say about it's funny, Ben's team's 110-point game last week, and we're saying, I don't know. Ben Necessities a very fortunate win, a 90-point game because of Leonard Fournette last week, and we're saying, we love it. It's funny how fantasy can turn on its head week in, week out, but you just look at that there, and it's easy to see how Ben Necessities can have a great week here. For Ixan, not saying they can't have a good week, it's easier to see where it could fall down.
Almost certainly, yeah.
So on to our next game then. It is You Are Gold against the Dream Team. You Are Gold against the Dream Team. You Are Gold playing for pride at this point. Meanwhile, the Dream Team just trying to notch up some more wins before they head to the playoffs. They're at 10-2 on a 3-game win streak, projected to make it 101 against 68 points. The 3-9 You Are Gold team. Looking down the lineups. For the Dream Team, they have brought Tyreek Hill into the lineup. He's back from bye. No other changes there, so dropping Terry McLaurin to the bench there. They are rolling with 30 personnel, 3 running backs and 2 receivers. On the other side of the ball for you are Gold. Mac Jones comes in for Cam Newton. Dalvin Cook is still in the lineup, but he's obviously out. Clyde Edwards-Helaire comes into the lineup though. And no other changes. So yeah, Newton's on the bench there with the bye. Gesicki goes to the bench as well. So they are rolling currently with the 20 personnel, 2 running backs, 3 receivers. However, they will almost certainly bring in Christian Kirk or Mike Gesicki for the injured Dalvin Cook. He will not play. Edwards-Helaire is an illness. He will play. Nick Folk, knee injury all season long. He'll play. James Robinson, questionable with that heel injury, but he'll play as well. Jalen Hurts kind of got ruled out, but then some said he might play. I very much doubt he'll play in this one. The history of this matchup all time, the dream team here are Gold 4-2 all time against them.
I'm going to lock this one. This is my lock of the week. There's only one game to lock.
The mirror test. The mirror is shattering.
Absolutely, that's it. And it's a dream team, by the way, just to confirm. That's it. Look, it's criminal not to play CeeDee Lamb on a Thursday night game, and when you've still got injured players there. Yeah, I think that's crazy.
We knew Cook wasn't playing.
Yeah, exactly.
By Thursday as well. So.
As we talked about earlier on, that game in Buffalo, we've seen the Patriots run it all year. This is going to be a run-heavy game. I just don't see Matt Jones throwing a great deal. Yeah, I meant
to say about Exxon's game. Damon Harris obviously playing Buffalo. That their run defense is better on paper than it actually is in reality as well. So, and like you say, with the weather being as it is, that's going to be the kind of game where the Pats are just going to smash the ball, grind the clock, and get out there.
Exactly that. That's it. With all their running backs, not just Harris. There's going to be there's going to be like 4 or 5 dudes just like. Slogging, and that's where Matt Jones is not going to make too much of an impact. He's going to be handing the ball off the whole game. You're going to see that. That's it. No points for handing the ball off in this game, I'm afraid. The fact that Cook's there, Edwards-Helaire's banged up, Thielen's got a good matchup, as is Renfro, to be fair. Yeah, Mike Williams has been back to his boom and bust self in the last few weeks, and the Jags are playing. The Bears are playing in Arizona, and
Murray and Hopkins should be back.
That's it, exactly that. So that spells danger already. On the other side, the dream team is pretty much unchanged. The only thing he's brought in is a better option in Hill. Tyreek Hill comes back in. There's absolutely no reason for me why this team is not going to score 90 plus points this week. So again, from top to bottom, from Herbert playing the Bengals and Eckler playing the Bengals to the Colts playing Houston, it's absolutely great on all round. I know that there are some tough defenses in there. I know that Robinson's playing LA and that might not work out. I know that Hill's playing Denver's reasonably decent secondary, as is Chase. But look, it's in comparison to what's on the other side. The fact that Herbert's got a huge upside and Matt Jones has none.
Yeah,
that's for me this week.
I'm going with the dream team as well. I'm not locking them because that would be too easy. It's not the spirit of the locking.
Well,
you can use your lock how you want.
Exactly. That is it. That is it. I mean,
no, I agree. I don't necessarily think it's going to be a smash week for the dream team here. Because like you say, there's a bit of shine that has come off them since that middle point of the season, but they're still such a solid team, and as you say, almost certainly going to hit that 90 where you are Gold. They're obviously going to be bringing in Kirk or Gesicki, and those guys couldn't do much. Quarterback's going to be an issue. Skill position's okay, but it's obviously not on a level anywhere near the dream team in this one. So yeah, dream team for me as well. On to our next game then. It's another playoff, 2 playoff hopefuls in fact. Actually, I say Napolitans is holding on to the 5th wild card with the most points at the moment. And they play Ross's team. Napolitans take on Ross's team. 2 teams trying to keep up in the playoffs. Napolitans tentatively holding on to the highest points forward in the 5th wildcard spot. Projected to get a win here, which doesn't really help them at this point, but still mathematically they can win that Portsmouth division, so it would certainly help. They're projected to win 97 to 82 points. Ross's team at 6-6 need a win to stay up in the wildcard race. Looking down the lineups for Napolitans, let's start there. I think they might be unchanged this week. I don't think they've made any changes there, so they are rolling out with 21 personnel, 2 running backs and a tight end and 2 wide receivers, no injuries either. On the other side, Patrick Mahomes comes back from bye and into the starting lineup for Ross's team. Darrell Henderson comes in. However, I do not expect him to play with, I think, a quad injury, so he will almost certainly be coming back out again. Elsewhere, Rob Gronkowski comes into the lineup for Devontae Adams, who is on bye. They're probably going to have to go with Kenneth Gainwell if Henderson doesn't play, because Shepard is doubtful at the moment. So Ross's team will be going with the wow, if Gainwell comes in, I do not believe we've seen this formation in the LOC before. It is a 23 personnel, 2 running backs and 3 tight ends. And that is what they are currently as well, and that's all they're going to have unless they go to the waiver. So, history of this matchup all time, I don't believe there is any. So yeah, this is the first game these two have ever played.
Oh dear, is all I can say. Oh dear.
I'm going to lock Napolitan.
I think that's probably a good thing to do at this point. Yeah.
No, that would be too easy. I'm going with Napolitan.
Go with Napolitan. I think we're both going to go with Napolitan this one. Look, whenever you're rolling the dice on 3 tight ends, and 3 tight ends that are got it, Kyle Pitts, who's been reasonably good, but and Gronk. Come on, that's it. If Henderson's not playing and Kenneth Gainwell's not playing, you're going to have to hope for a huge game from Mahomes. You have to hope for a huge game from either Pitts or Gronk. The Bills D's going to have to be. It's going to have to be like a 6 point each game, doing nothing down there. Mm-hmm. Look, yeah, that's it. I don't see it personally. I don't see where Ross can win this game, except from just an exceptionally ridiculous game from Mahomes. Because on the other side, Jackson's playing Pittsburgh, which is a good matchup at this point of the season. Barkley is there or thereabouts. You just don't know what you're going to get from him. You could get something amazing, but it really is all about Jonathan Taylor.
Anything from this Giants offense. Yeah.
Indeed. Jonathan Taylor is the guy, though. He's playing Houston. That could be an absolute tire fire.
All they need to do is run the ball. That's all they're going to do. So
indeed, that's it. So Devontae Smith down there. He's playing the Jets. Yes, he's going to have Gardner Minshew thrown to him. I think
Gardner's not a bad
exactly that, and I think that this could be a good thing for him because you're going to see less of like the running around Jalen Hurts style thing. Yep. So he's been good when Hurts has been thrown to him. I think it's even better when you've got a guy who, he's a bit of a gunslinger. Minshew does love to throw the ball. And then Kittlin, what we think is going to be a big game, and the Patriots D in what's going to be a low game. In fact, the 2 Ds are playing each other. So the Pollins is absolutely in the driver's seat for this one. They've got all the skill. They've got up to last week anyway. They were rolling. Mm-hmm. There's no reason why they won't roll again with the same kind of personnel. That's it. Ross is in the mire here. He's going to have to go to the waivers or do something special because at the moment there is not a lot of sign of life in that one, sadly.
No, I mean, Ross's team, certainly hasn't been one of the upper echelon teams all year long. You look at it and you're like, how the hell has this team got to 6 wins and it's in the wild card race in week 13? It's a shadow. All they have is Devontae Adams and Mahomes practically, and they're obviously without Adams here, so that's a big loss. So it should be a walk in the park. Napolitans doesn't even have to do anything special, like you say, to win this one, I don't think. So, and they play Detonators in week 14, so that's going to make the playoff race interesting there. On to our next game then. It is bucking the trend against Pakistan. Bucking the trend face Pakistan. Bucking the trend currently tentatively holding on to the Portsmouth division by 3 points. Faced Pakistan, who are 1 point behind the most points forward playoff spot, the 5th spot. So a lot on the line for these two, but boy, it's not projected to be a particularly good one. 77-74 in favour of Bucking the Trend, who were ahead by 14 points already due to Mark Ingram, who only got 3 on Thursday, and Greg Zerline, who got 11. Elsewhere, for Bucking the Trend, they have made no changes, so they are rolling with the 20 personnel, 2 running backs, 3 receivers. Injury-wise, obviously Kamara missed the day again, and they've got a couple of guys out on bye there. On the other side of the ball for Pakistan, they are unchanged as yet, so that when they do change their team, that should up their projections and make this one perhaps easy to win for them. So yeah, they've got McCaffrey in at the moment. He's obviously not only on a bye, but on the IR now as well. DJ Moore's on a bye, looking to the bench. He's got Van Jefferson, Tim Patrick, Kenyon Drake, and Latavius Murray. I would imagine Kenyon Drake and probably Van Jefferson come into the lineup here. Won't comment too much more on their lineup at the moment. The history of this game all time. Pakistan are 2-1 all time against Bucking the Trend.
Yeah, tight. Again, this got some serious implications. I think less for Pat, actually, because Pat needs to score points in a big way to be able to beat Napolitans out.
Doesn't matter if he wins or loses.
It doesn't matter at all. But for Mike, if he loses this game, it's a real difficult one because not only is he fighting you in the division, he's also fighting what we think is going to be a win for Napolitans this week as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he hasn't got the luxury of being put in that position where he's going to be one of the highest scoring teams, because I don't think that he'll be in that hunt come the end of the season. So he has to win. He has to win these games, even if it means winning these games in a tight way. The projections are not necessarily accurate as to what we think is going to happen in this game either, because obviously that's 74 points with Pat not playing two players. So if we consider that he's going to put two guys in, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious where it's going here. If the Bucks have a good day, if Brady manages to get himself out of his little slump that he's had in the last couple of weeks, and he should do against the Falcons, let's be honest, you would think so. It's going to be played in the dome. It's going to be his kind of game where he's got a leaky defense, especially through the air.
There's been an interesting thing with the Bucks that they don't typically score as many points away from home as they do at home. It doesn't show up too much in Brady's score because he's still had decent days away from home, but you can see, just looking down there, the team as a whole does typically score less on the road. Now they are on the road, but as you say, it's in Atlanta. It's not too far from Tampa anyway. No. So probably primed for a good day here.
Absolutely, that's it. Absolutely. You see that Justin Jefferson's playing Detroit. We like that. Montgomery's been better, and they're going to have to rely on a running game a little bit to have any chance of winning in that game against Arizona. And then I don't really like the Steelers against Baltimore. But then we saw last week that Lamar is a little bit, he was turning the ball over a lot. With a guy that runs around a lot, there's always a chance for a sack or two. Elliott playing the Jets, is neither here nor there. The guys that he's bringing in, though, is the thing that interests me, because if you bring a guy like Van Jefferson in, you've got a chance. He's certainly got a chance of scoring some points in that offense, but it's the other person. We saw about a minute ago. What was it? Kenyon Drake. Was it Kenyon Drake? Tim. I like Tim Patrick, by the way. I think Tim Patrick's a really decent receiver, but again, he's just in a bad time. The KC defense obviously has been pretty poor this year, but they have seemed to have bucked their ideas up. So if they bring those two receivers in, if you kind of hope for 5 points each, then that at least gives you a bit of a buffer. On the other side, there's a lot of underwhelming players, second underwhelming matchups there as well. Do I like Miami at home against the Giants? No, because I think as both of them are anemic offensively. I do like the fact that he's got Waddle there as well. So if he does have a good day, it's going to go that way.
Yeah, Waddle with Tagovailoa as well is good. Tagovailoa might not have a good day himself, but Waddle should do well.
That's it.
By hook or by crook.
That's it. And between the two of them, it should kind of get to a reasonable score. We've talked about Miles Sanders all year.
Yep.
That's it. Not doing, but with Hurts not in the team this week, there's a chance that he just kind of takes that in, especially in a good matchup against the Jets. Metcalf has all the potential to go off in that game against San Francisco, and Pittman's in a good matchup too. So look, and also we mustn't forget the Chiefs D play in Denver could be good if Teddy's off. So look, I think that Pat's stars could definitely align. If they all align, they get him through the week. If like last week we saw that some of them misfire, then Mike has a chance. But I firmly believe that Brady's going to absolutely dominate the Falcons, and that's what's going to get Pat the win.
Yeah, I think we see this a lot in the LOC. If your quarterback has a 30+ point day, that just makes it so hard on the other team. Certainly if their quarterback doesn't perform, which we think Tua probably won't, certainly not to that degree in this one. No. Given that Mike's already had two guys play, okay, one of them's a kicker, but 3 points from Ingram's not great. Okay, Pat's obviously not at full strength either, but you fancy whoever he would bring in to get more than Mark Ingram. I think I'm going to go Patterson as well. Wouldn't surprise me to see Bucking the Trend win. It's not out of the realm. Tua could have a good day. Sanders, as you say, we know what he is all year long, but he could, if there's one game where he turns up, it could be this one. And then Metcalf and Pittman have maybe been a bit quiet for the last few weeks. Yeah. They've obviously been a big part of why they've gotten to the lead of the division over that good stretch in the middle of the season. They could definitely wake up here. I'm leaning Pat with Brady as well, and potentially whoever he brings in. The other players he's got there are solid options as well, but wouldn't surprise me to see Bucking the Trend possibly win this one either. Next game then, Bird Detonators against Forge Flyers. Bird Detonators take on Forge Flyers in this Week 13 matchup. Forge Flyers just seeing if they can tie the all-time regular season wins with 13 on an 11-game win streak at 11-1, which they're projected to do so with 103 to 79, 80 points. Bird Detonators just playing for fun at this point, seeing if they can notch up some wins at the end of the year. This one's currently at 17-10 due to the Cowboys D getting 17 on Thursday and Michael Gallup getting 10 points. Elsewhere for Forge Flyers, Carson Wentz comes into the starting lineup with Aaron Rodgers on bye. Brandon Ayuk comes into the starting lineup as well, dropping Darnell Mooney to the bench. So Forge Flyers are rolling with the 20 personnel this week. 2 running backs and 3 wide receivers. No other injury news, but a couple of buys for Forge Flyers. On the other side for Bird Detonators, Odell Beckham comes into the starting lineup, but he is questionable with, I think, a hip injury. So we'll see if he plays. Rashad Bateman has also come into the starting lineup there, dropping Emmanuel Sanders and AJ Dillon to the bench. It's a bit of a bipocalypse there for Ollie, but he wisely benched Dak Prescott on Thursday. He only got 13. So Ollie's current starting lineup is spread 10 personnel, 1 running back, 4 wide receivers. The history of this matchup all time. But Detonators are 9-7 against Forge Flyers.
Yep, that's it. And look, I mean, I'm really pleased that that it's all going to be in a couple of games for Ollie. It's all going to be in that Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and the Jacksonville LA game for that, because yeah, there's a lot riding on it for me, because you're not wrong. I am absolutely gunning for that 13 wins. Can't get enough. That's it. I want to get a 13 win streak, and that's that.
I'm pretty sure you've already got the record for the longest win streak, but that would
I want to get there, because as I say, it's difficult for that record to be beaten, and it would be a great week to be able to do it. Look, it's a great start with 17 points. Don't get me wrong, but again, there's some toughies in there. That's it. I know Cordero Patterson's he's been great recently, but he's playing Tampa, and Tampa are good against the run, not against the pass, but good against the run. But who knows what this guy is? Because if I don't know what this guy is, you don't know what this guy is. He doesn't really know what he is. That's it. How are the Tampa going to know what he is? It's difficult to be able to prepare for someone like that. Obviously, Mixon's been a revelation for a second round pick. Cut's playing in the same game as Stafford is, so I'm not too fussed about that, because whatever happens on the other side, Cut will always score more points than Stafford, even if he throws to him. Brandon Ayuk coming in, I feel a bit scumbag. I know Mike brought this up to me the other day. He dropped him and I picked him up. Because
we see that a lot in the season.
As you said, with he asked me who should I drop. I said, Ayuk's not done anything for the last few weeks. Then I picked him up, and then Debo went down.
Well, I mean, there's a reason, because Ayuk was with Napolitans to begin with, so it's not like he was a core player for bucking the trends. So
he was on the bench for a few weeks.
Exactly.
But
so
he gets given my shot. I dropped him last year wrongly at the wrong time, so I'm going to sort of atone for that and play him now. And Marquise Brown playing a good matchup. Great for the Cowboys D. Daniel Carson, my boy, playing in a good matchup there against Washington as well.
In Las Vegas,
In Vegas. On the other side, well, look, I don't think we should really rule Ollie out at all here, because I think that Stafford's got the potential to have a reasonable day. Though we have seen Jacksonville kill quarterbacks recently. Just that's sort of been their way of doing it. We saw them kill Josh Allen, we saw them kill Matt Ryan last week, and hopefully Stafford doesn't do the same thing. But they are playing at home.
Yeah,
Jacksonville got to go across the country. That's never an easy thing to do. Odell's questionable. Is he going to play? I haven't seen much of what he's doing.
I think he's quite iffy at the moment with that hip injury, and so they could go to Emmanuel Sanders there.
They could do. That's it. So yeah, that wouldn't be ideal, but there's always a potential for a touchdown, especially with a stack with Stafford if he does end up playing. Freeman again picking up.
He's expected to play.
He's expected to play. Good stuff. He's picked him up. Freeman's done well. That's it. The Bateman Johnson thing. Who knows what Big Ben's going to do? Bateman again. He's going to be him or Marquise Brown on the day. and hopefully it's Marquise Brown because he's on the other side. And Eagles playing the Jets. Well, yeah, I think that could be good too. But is it going to be 17 points good? No, it's not. So I'm going to go with my team.
Yeah, I'm going to go with your team as well. Look, okay, Patterson's playing the Bucks D, which are the best run defense in the NFL. So if any team can slow him down, it's them. But it's not really handing it off to him in the backfield necessarily. It's his strength. It's passing it to him when he's coming out of the backfield, which is a different thing entirely for a defense to combat. We don't need to do too much analysis on your team. There's a reason it is where it is. It's a good team, even though you haven't got Rodgers. Carson Wentz playing against Houston profiles to be a very good game as well. On the other side of the ball, it's about Stafford, and then Ollie just needs a lot of guys to turn up, which, you know, it wouldn't be surprising if any of them did. So, but that being said, he could have a nice week here all the same, but yeah, it's easy to go for your team in this one, I think. So we go to the final game of Week 13 then, and again, it's a sort of playoff matchup. Gridiron Gang against Tom's Tyrants. Gridiron Gang takes on Tom's Tyrants in Week 13, Corona Bowl 3 matchup. Two teams very much hoping to make the playoffs. Gridiron for any home down the lineup for Tom's Tyrants. Let's see. So I think Jamal Williams, he comes into the lineup here from the free agency, dropping Debo to the bench, who's obviously out with that groin injury. Does Najee Harris come in?
He does.
Well? Yeah, in favour of... might not even be on the team anymore, whoever he was playing last week. So going with the 30 personnel, 3 running backs and 2 receivers in this one. On the other side of the ball for Gridiron Gang, DeAndre Hopkins comes into the lineup back from bye and his hamstring injury in favour of Jerry Jeudy. Sony Michel also in over Josh Jacobs at the moment. Otherwise, I think my team is also unchanged. So Gridiron Gang going with the 30 personnel as well here. 3 running backs, 2 receivers. Hopkins questionable with that hamstring, but should play. Obviously, Antonio Brown suspended. Taysom Hill played on Thursday. He got 25 points. Josh Jacobs questionable with that ankle injury, but he should play. History of this matchup all time. Gridiron Gang are 7-7, so it's a tight series for these two.
I think this is going to be one of the closest games of the week. I think it's for a variety of reasons. Obviously, we saw the history there, 7-7, but I think everywhere you're quite well matched. You know, and also coming into this week, you know, so you got guys coming off the waiver. It's a bit of a defense off. It's a bit of an average quarterback off into decent matchups. I would say.
We might see Kyler Murray come in for, just covering the injuries actually for Tom. So J.D. McKissic out. Boston Scott questionable but should play. Kyler Murray questionable with that ankle sprain but should play as well, I would think.
Yeah, I think that if Kyler Murray is even 75% fit, he's coming into this team, by the way. Because there's no reason not to play him. Yes, you didn't play Taysom Hill. That is such a random stat line. I just saw that there. Like, it's something like 247 yards, 264 yards, two TDs, four picks, and 101 rushing yards.
And like I said earlier, look, I mean, so they were just staying with my team. So I didn't say Elliott got 5 points. Going back to what you were saying about the eye test and everything after the Thanksgiving game, saying Zeke, we're going to use him differently. We're going to maybe give him a couple of weeks off or whatever. I was fully ready to bench him. There were a few things that turned me away because, as you say, based on how he's played, he's not looked explosive because of the knee injury that's slowing him down. I would have benched him. There was 2 things. One, Jerry Jones saying, we're going to give him all the work that he can carry. Great, thanks for that, Jerry.
Thanks,
it's helpful.
Jerry,
a couple of other things. Obviously, I am facing some injury problems elsewhere with Hopkins, although that doesn't affect the running back room. But Jacobs popped up with an ankle injury on Thursday as well. And I also have Sony Michel, but I didn't know, again, at Thursday, at the point of Thursday, the annoying thing about Thursday games, that if Darrell Henderson was going to play or not. So I probably would have done it if Jacobs was healthy and I knew about Henderson ahead of time. Unfortunate how it falls, but yeah.
It's difficult. It's difficult.
And as you said with Taysom Hill as well, I was fully expecting to just pull the trigger, because I've said all season long, like, I've gone with the fantasy. I've not read anything this week. I'm sticking with Carr, but I mentioned to you about how the Saints were without both their starting tackles. Alvin Kamara banged up Ingram. So otherwise I would have done it as well.
Indeed. So I don't think it's going to be that much of an effect on you, I have to say. I think that bringing Sony Michel in is an interesting one, because obviously he's going to be the only guy in that backfield now. We've seen when he's had his opportunities as the single guy in the backfield, in New England that he did thrive in that. Again, against a reasonable opposition. For fantasy purposes anyway. So you want something like that on that day.
Mm-hmm.
Hopkins coming back in, it's good, especially if Kyler's on the other side.
Yeah.
That does nullify that a little bit. So, as we saw with last week with Claypool, it's just a mixture of a bad QB play this year, and Eli Mitchell's been fantastic for you. But I do think that Dolphins D against the Giants is big time. Could be big time.
Hopefully Matt Gay has a better day against the Jags at home. So the special teams, I'm hoping they come through for me this week.
Yeah, so you need a little bit of that, I think. What's on the other side, bringing in bringing in Williams, so he can be the number one guy, so you'd like to think that he's going to take everything that Swift did. We saw him when he would have that in Green Bay. So same thing to Michelle, really, is that,
Do you know he has
fantastic.
the record for most carries without a fumble as well?
Really?
Yeah.
That's it. Well, because he's a big dude.
And he holds on to the ball well.
Yeah, so clearly. So, but those three running backs that he's got, Gibson, Harris, and Williams. So I think that's an explosive mix. We've seen Gibson obviously have up and down days, but generally he's been solid as a rock. So obviously Harris has been fantastic value, and you can't ever rule out Keenan Allen. I really can't. Just know you cannot rule out that guy.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I want to talk about one thing before we finish. The last thing. That's it. Tom's selling out. Tom's selling out his allegiances here by playing the Bucks against Atlanta. That's it. How can you support for fantasy purposes only? That's it.
And you
can't cheer when your QB has a pick and gets sacked.
I forgot to say in my recap. So and again, it just goes back to there were not a lot of great defensive options last week. When I put the Jags in, I was doing kind of on the basis that Patterson wouldn't play.
Yeah.
Because obviously with Patterson in that Falcons offense, they are a completely different entity. And I knew that, but there was just nothing else. I was like, I'll just risk it anyway. They are a better offense without Patterson. They are nothing at the moment because they obviously haven't got Ridley either, and Pitts can't do it all on his own. But yeah, like it's
every time Matt Ryan gets sacked or picked, you can have Tom going, yeah, but no, it's a weird one. This is probably the one that's most difficult to call for me this week.
Yeah.
I think that a Kyler Murray'd up Thomas Torrance is going to win.
Yeah, I'm not only going to pick Tom's team this week, I'm going to lock Tom's
team.
Locking against myself, that's an odd entity.
Isn't it? Yeah.
But, my team, it's just, I've kind of been getting some wins here and there, but it's just not been quite firing. Obviously, quarterback's been the thing holding me back. I've missed a lot of opportunities because I have been in games, some of them opponents not doing too well either, and it's just kind of slipped through my fingers. That it kind of just feels like one of those years for me, and it's just how it's been at the moment. I hope it's not the case, but as you say, Tom's team, I've liked it all season long on paper. The reason for his struggles certainly in the last month and a half is because he hasn't had Kyler Murray.
Yeah,
sure. If he has Kyler Murray, this team's squarely in the playoff race, but being without him, he just lifts the lid on the whole team because the rest of the roster, like you say, is pretty good. Sutton hasn't done much with Judy being back, obviously, but the three running backs he's got there, and as you say, Keenan Allen could turn up in the day. My team, Hopkins is questionable with that hamstring. I don't know how much he's going to play. It's bizarre how much this has lingered for him, coming off the bye week as well. But he, and if they get a lead, you wonder do they rest him or whatnot. So yeah, I'm going with Tom's team as well. And as I say, I also lock up Tom. So that is it for the Week 13 previews. So we will dip into debate corner now as well to finish the show. So we've got to find John for that. John, where are you? Oh, there you are, John. Thank you.
Order.
Thank you, John. And the topic of debate corner this week is a fun one and something we've potentially never seen in the LOC before. Will the winner of the Portsmouth division have a winning record? So winning means you must be above 500. A 500 record is not a winning record. So the current state of play is mine and Mike's team are 6-6, so we would need to win out basically, and we play each other in week 14. So if either of us win this week, the opportunity is there. If both of us win, obviously it's guaranteed. But if either of us lose, it can't happen. Obviously, Neapolitans could still win it, but they would be at best 7-7.
Well, I would say that based on our projections here, no, because
Yes.
we think that Bucking the Trend and your team is going to lose. We think that Neapolitans is going to win, and then it takes it to the last week where, between you and Mike, you're gonna scrap it out. So it's the evidence is there. It's it. We think no.
I'd have to say with no as well, because you look at really all of the three teams there. I mean, obviously it can't happen for Dave anyway, but he could potentially win both and still would only be 7-7. The likelihood, mine and Mike's team both win 2 games in a row, because he could win this week and then lose against me, or I could win and then lose against him. We could both lose. You know, there are more opportunities for it to be no than yes.
Almost certainly, yes. So, I think so. I also think that this is good for Pat lurking in the background, because he must be sitting there at 4-8 going, I'm really pleased with my good start to the season at this point.
Yeah, well, and Tom Brady scoring as much points as he did for as long as he did. And god damn, that makes me rue not getting him so that much more, because I said to you, I think I would have got to 9-0 if I had Brady in my team this year. I would have lost a couple as it turned out, but I'd obviously already be cemented to the playoffs. That's what not having a quarterback scoring 20 points week in, week out does to you.
It really does.
And that's what the difference between my points for as well. And as you say, the difference between Pat's that if I have a even decent quarterback scores, that it puts me squarely in potential for that as well. But it is what it is. Anyway, so that is this week's pod. Obviously, it's going to be a very interesting week 13. Next week's show is going to be fun, because we'll know exactly what needs to happen, who's in and who's out potentially. So thanks for joining as always, Chris.
Absolutely, great to be here.
You're welcome to come around and watch the games tonight if you want to. Other than that, just have a good rest of your Sunday. Good luck in your fantasy matchups. Certainly some of you need that luck, myself included. But unless you're playing me, of course, no good luck to you then, Tom. We'll see you later. Catch you later on.